Hey Powrsuiters, we've just released the dates for our 2024 Power Sessions in Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland, Melbourne and Sydney. We'd love to meet you in person for our month-long transformative leadership program specifically designed for women. Save your spot at powrsuit.com. Welcome to Power Up, the podcast that uncovers the unique challenges women leaders face today. Join your hosts Nat and Kristen as we dive into the tough topics and provide actionable insights you can apply right now. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Hello. Welcome to our first Minisode episode of 2024. And this one has come in and is titled, How to Get Noticed by Senior Leaders. And I'm going to read out the question now, okay?
Yes, and for people who aren't aware of these minisodes yet, we accept all your questions in our inbox, hello@powrsuit.com. Any career questions, leadership questions, challenges on your brain, you send them to us and we answer them in 15 minutes.
Love it.
Read it. Do it.
My current focus at work is to build my exposure with senior leaders. How do you go about being noticed and recognized by senior leaders, building their rapport, particularly when you aren't in their direct reporting line? I love this one.
Yeah, because a lot of us think that our work speaks for itself, and it doesn't. Everyone is so busy.
Yeah.
No one has the time to spend looking around and going, what did they do? What did they do? What hidden secret stuff have they been delivering that they didn't? Like, it's not fair or reasonable to expect that people will pick up on your value just from quietly going about your work, because it's hard.
Yeah, and at Powrsuit, we want women to take up more space. And what does more space mean? We need to be seen and we need to be heard. And that's not often just quietly getting work done and having it be recognized. It never works that way.
Yeah, make it easy for them to see how valuable you are. And I had written this down as an example for later, but I do like this as an analogy. I sat my driver's test about 20 odd years ago and I was nervous, and my brother-in-law said, just think about this as delivering the best, easiest drive and most comfortable drive to the driving, whatever it is. What's it called?
Instructor, yeah.
Ever. Like, that is your goal, is to make their life so wonderful right now. And I feel like that applies here, as if you take that attitude of how do you make their lives better and add value to them, you're sort of starting to ask the right questions.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like that. So being noticed at work, it means that your boss and all the other higher ups in an organization, which there are, because we live in a world that's organized by hierarchy, but they recognize your contributions and your value at work. And it's important that they know this because they have a vested interest in their organization or their team or this project succeeding, which means that your contribution to it is important. And if they learn what you're good at and who you are and how you can make that better, they're going to maximize your contribution.
And this is, in my opinion, a great example of Powrsuit navigating the system. The system's currently set up that women don't network as much. The old boys club is often alive and well. So people promote the people they see a lot. And in that world, they're seeing the guy who turns up for beers, the guy who they can connect with over cricket or whatever else. This is our way of working that system and highlighting value in a way that's authentic, because it is the value you add. So when it comes times for promotion and pay rises, they've got the guy who goes drinking with them and the woman who solved all their problems.
Yeah.
And at the moment, they have the guy who goes drinking with them and this invisible person who knows what she's up to.
Yeah, and so I love the idea. We always talk about this is kind of the playing board or the chessboard that we happen to be on. And so one of the moves we're going to do, and one of the answers for today's minisode, is getting known. How do you go about getting known at work? And we have 3 main points for it. So I'm going to let you take away the first one, Nat.
Cool. Know and communicate your personal brand. And we do a lot of this work in Power Sessions, understanding your unique identity as a leader and your unique strengths, really stepping into them. So who are you and what do you want to be known for? Really actually learning that first, because a lot of us haven't spent the time to sit down and go, who am I and what is the value, the unique value I bring? So highly recommend doing that first and then conveying that.
Yeah.
Do you want to chip into how you
just to
convey
double down on why that's so important that you know it and you convey it is because if you're not telling your story, someone else is. Someone else is slapping a label on you. And that's because as humans, that's how we organize the world. We put everyone in boxes. It simplifies the amount of time we spend on thinking and analyzing, and we put people in boxes and they will put you in a box. And so if you always deliver, you're an exceptional deliverer, that will be your label. If you want to actually be known for something else, here's your opportunity to really craft what is it that you want to be known for. Now, conveying it, actually, that's going to be the next 2 points, I think. But I think it's starting to tell your story a little bit more about how is it that you're currently moving the needle, how you want to move the needle, how you want to contribute, speaking up at meetings. I mean, I guess all that stuff is conveying it, isn't it?
Well, it is, but it's sort of, I think to your point about what, if you don't control what you're known for, it'll be controlled outside of you. And I think most of us know people by their most obvious traits. So if you walk into a room and you don't know someone very well and they're quiet, you'll remember them as the quiet one. Whereas actually they could be the polymath, is that what it's called?
Philomath, the thinker.
Who has a huge amount of really interesting stories, but they didn't present that to you, so you walk away just going, that's a quiet person. If you go into a meeting, and I've been in this case a lot, and there's a person sitting there who doesn't engage or ask questions, I'm not thinking, oh my goodness, that person's a deep thinker. I'm thinking they're disengaged. Yes. So we make it really easy to spot your greatest strengths and not leave it to the really obvious boxes that you can be put in.
And your strengths can come through your insights, and yours are different than anyone else's, and they are valuable. We guarantee you. So prep a little bit before the meetings with a few things that you want to say as it relates to your insights around what's happening in that meeting. Or if you are a philomath and a thinker and need a little bit more time, make sure you do a follow-up email the next day.
And ask questions in the meeting and actively listen. Like those skills really help too.
Yes.
The other little tip I wrote down as well, and this has happened to me before, when I've had to follow up with the team for information after a meeting, and then one person the next time was like, I apologize you had to ask last time. I'm proactively sending this to you this time, so that I immediately saw that person paid attention. They recognized when they hadn't delivered the standard they wanted, and they went out of their way to make my life easier. And that was a really small task. So I feel like knowing what's on the burden on the seniors' plates or their top priorities, and really going, what can I do to obviously show that I am, and actually add the value, but make sure it's obvious that you're adding the value. You've noticed something and you're doing something about it.
Another way of saying that actually is a lot of people describe that as managing up. And managing up is making their lives easier. What is the information they need to know? How is it you're getting them across things without increasing their mental load, so on and so forth. So yeah, the know and communicate your personal brand is the first step, because it's really important that you walk into these next two solutions as part of this question, armed with your personal brand and possibly your elevator pitch as well. So the second point, yes, is events and parties. When we hear the term networking, it's like, oh, gross. I'm going to go to some conference. It's going to be scary. Everyone is in these circles. We've got some little tips on how to break through to those. May I join you? It's a perfect one. But all events and parties and morning teas, these are opportunities to network. And all networking is building authentic relationships. So view everything in and during the workplace where gatherings of people happening. This is a time to network.
Absolutely. And I met someone the other day who is very nervous sort of talking to people she doesn't know. So she's practicing it, and she's practicing it in a really easy way. She'll go into a shop and try and have a quick conversation with the owner of the shop or the person working at the shop to really sort of just practice starting conversations with strangers or people she doesn't feel comfortable with, and just saying a few things. And I like, you've written some notes here about starting with something that you may have noticed about them. Like, I really like what you did here, or I've been working on this project and I was just wanting to give you an update on it. Something, just have a couple of those sort of ideas in your back pocket. And as per don't go too big. Like, you might find there's one leader or a senior leader that you feel like you've connected with in a meeting, or they align, or that you look up to them. Just focus on that one person. You don't have to talk to everyone on day one, but you may be a natural networker. Amazing. If you're not, just pick one and just set yourself the task of starting a conversation with one person that you admire. And that's a great starting point as well. Tell them why you admire them.
Yes, yes, yes. The work that they've done, or why you'd like to learn a little bit more about their role and their priorities, and what are some of the big issues on their mind at the moment. So it could be getting really curious. Equally, you'd mentioned this earlier, talk about the latest thing that you're working on and why you love it. Assuming it's strategic and interesting, you can just say, I really loved doing this project, or I'm loving working on this because XYZ. I'm getting to know our customers better, or I can see, some of where the spend creep is happening in our business. Whatever it is, start to talk about some real, I suppose, strategic things that matter to that level. Like, have a little bit of a think, and then how you're contributing, and just make it known that you're observing these things.
Absolutely. And I would say, I would have a caveat for that one, that it should always point back to you adding value to their lives and making their lives easier. And this probably sounds quite harsh, but I think it's a really important thing to be aware of. We've probably all been in situations a lot where someone's come up and been like, hey, I'd love to pick your brains for half an hour. Or, hey, can you help me with this? And you're like, I don't know you. I'm really busy. Why am I like, what? Who are you? And so if you come at it rather than and I'm trying to think of a recent example, because I think it happened quite recently to me, and I was like, ooh, versus I want to go up and make your life, like, give you a moment of delight, or make you have a great experience, rather than kind of, I want something out of this straight away, can be quite a good way to think about it.
Yeah, especially with senior leaders who are busy and have high mental load, but which leads us actually quite nicely into the third and final point, recognizing we have 4 minutes, is build personal connections. Like, connect over anything, because once you have a personal relationship, asks becomes so much easier. So it could be that that person hadn't contacted you over anything, and all of a sudden you get an ask and you're like, man, this feels a bit weird. So I love connecting in the, I don't know, it could be the kitchen, or it could be at the copier, or whatever, wherever people congregate nowadays. It could be just pre-meeting. I love, going in for the kill and asking questions about what they got up to on the weekend, or it can be just come out in natural conversation. Like, I usually test out, oh, did you watch the cricket game last night? Or, oh,
No.
If they say yes,
Shut it down.
If they say yes, I double down and I talk about it. Like, I know what I'm talking about. Same thing with if I get a little hint of what they did on the weekend, if it's something related to family. What an easy follow-up question. Tell me about your kids. What age are they? What school? I mean, oh my gosh, it's endless. Get to know and build a bit of relationship in, what is it? It's commonalities. Once people, you have something in common, that's what your next conversation will come off of. Like,
absolutely.
Hey, how is your latest tennis game? Yeah, if that,
and you all see it around the
office.
office, right? Where someone will be like, oh, what? And they've got this little in-joke that they've created over something that they're really interested in together. And that can be so small and so casual.
Yes.
And I think, again, I don't know if it's a caveat to that, but a rule, or a general rule of thumb for that, is ask expansionary questions. Don't ask yes/no questions. Like, how was your weekend? Good. Like, that could be the answer. Or it could be, did you watch the cricket? Yes, blah, blah, blah. Or no, I didn't get around to it. And vice versa. If you get asked a question, try, and I know there's introverts, and I know there's different ways of thinking and how different brains work, but try and deliver more than the minimum amount of
and be
information.
specific, because that good answer is so painful, and
and
there's
you
videos
feel shut down.
There's videos going around where it's like asking the obligatory, how is your holiday season, how is this, and everyone's like, good, busy, blah. But if you are asked, how is this, be like, oh, I tried to play chess and that was interesting, and tell a little story. Wonderful. Oh my goodness, people love it.
It's like basic PR, isn't it? You don't have to answer the question they asked. How was your holiday? Amazing. I started surfing. Like, you've just changed it into a whole different topic.
Exactly. And this is where, to end on this final point of be you, be uniquely you. Nowhere in this answer are we saying be a chameleon, be like them, fake your, that you like sport if you know that person likes sport. The great thing is, if you have these quirky traits or hobbies, it's so interesting. Yeah. And even if you don't share them in common, if you say, oh, I was at a board game competition on the weekend. Oh my goodness.
Memorable.
It is so memorable. And that person will go, what? What is that? And what do you do there? And the next time they see you, they'll be like, wow, that person does this and that is incredible. And so there will be interest about your uniqueness. So just be yourself. And
I agree. And it showcases
confident.
your strengths too. Even that example, like surfing, you have to have tenacity. You have to try at things.
Yes.
You are someone who likes to learn. Like all of these little examples both connect you, but also show off how strong you are in different areas. Yeah.
Getting known. Know and communicate your personal brand.
People connect over sharing.
Yes, events and parties, they are networking. And finally, make those personal connections. Humans connect with humans.
And we'd love to hear your tips too. If you have recently managed to, and we've heard this from a few Powrsuiters who've managed to tap into a senior network and that has given them some different job opportunities, or they've been given special projects and all that sort of stuff. So if you've got tips on how you've managed to land something like that, we'd love to hear it, because that's the ultimate outcome, right?
Yep.
Progression opportunities, all sorts of stuff that you get out of these relationships.
Well done. We've done it. 15 minutes. And we
Boom.
will catch you all next time, everyone.
Bye.